Um, so we talked about a few teams that started out 0-1 in district, and if you look at some games like Gatesville-Lorena, Grandview-Groesbeck, Cameron Yo and Troy, Marlin-Bruceville-Eddy, all of those are games that pit two teams that started out 0-1 in district. So when you look at those games, how big does it make those matchups? Because obviously nobody wants to start out 0-2. That's a pretty steep hole to climb out of.
Yeah, man. I don't want to be nasty, but there's like sometimes it's like, okay, well, they lost that. You look at some of these matchups, they go, okay, they lost last week, but there's no way they're losing this week. But I'm not going to name names on that one.
What I'll say, Chad, is like to answer your question, Bryce, it is important to not get into that hole, but at the same time, based on how some of these schedules are, it's not necessarily impossible to climb out of either. The team I think of immediately is Gatesville. Now, am I going to pick Lorena over Gatesville this week? Probably not. But if Gatesville were to fall into an 0-2 hole, that was exactly what the Hornets did last year through the first two games of district, and it was going to take a lot for them just to have a chance. They needed some outside help. They got it. They also took care of business against China Spring on the road last year and Connolly on the road, and kind of snuck into the playoffs. And where they end up, the regional semifinals, three
Mm-hmm.
rounds deep. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, it is very important to not dig yourself that hole, so to speak. But you can still climb out. Again, it probably depends on the schedule, what your team's made of, what district you're in, because as we know, is in that district I just mentioned, that 12-4 AD2. I mean, you do really need to take care of
I
business when
just feel
it's
like there's
six
a
games.
big difference in even just the feeling of 1-1
Agreed,
versus 0-2.
I
100%.
think probably it is a big challenge. Like I think maybe the biggest challenge for Chad President at Temple at this point is to keep his guys motivated on the same page and say we're 0-2, but we can still get to where, we can still at least get to the playoffs.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's even tougher for them because they know if they end up making the playoffs, they're probably going to be the number 2 seed in the big school deal, and they're going to play a really
Hmm.
good team out of the South Dallas area. So
Right.
Yeah. And that boils down to would you rather, make the playoffs or not? I
everybody
mean,
would rather make the playoffs, right?
Yes.
everybody
Always.
would rather make the playoffs. Exactly. I agree.